Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the third crypto art critique of this cohort. It's lovely to meet you all again and some new faces, which is great. I'm Harry. I work with Fanny Lakoubay at Lal Art Advisory, which is an NFT advisory for artists, collectors, corporations, and startups. And I'm also a team member at the Blockchain Art Directory, which is a vast encyclopedia kind of thing for all things art and Web3. And it's wonderful to be back with so many people here. And in the lead up to your auction, which is it in a fortnight, Boya? I can't quite remember. Is it 3 weeks?
It's in about 3 weeks. Let me check the actual.
Okay, good. Better to have more time than less. But the point is, if you're wanting to experiment with any kind of any concepts or any mediums before the big event, this is the place to do it. You know, it's never too late to get some feedback on something exciting before the launch. It's all really great. And in fact, I actually spoke with Christian and Basil recently about the auction too, which has been really good energy going with this lead up. So I think without further ado, we have I think I quoted 12 between this session and the next session of artists to critique. So without further ado, I think we should start with Dist Collective. And before I continue, I feel like I've forgotten a bit of the spiel. If you would like to share your artwork, if you haven't presented yet in the Residency Voice channel, that would be great. Equally, you can send work to my DM as well. And thank you, boy, for sending that through. And whatever you feel comfortable with showing, whether it's at a concept stage or a near execution stage, all is well here. We're just here to talk about what we see in front of us. The structure, to not go on for too long, is we all look at the artwork for about 5 minutes when you're presenting your piece or your sketch, whatever it is. We take some quick notes about what we see in front of us, real face value kind of things, and then the group comes together and we talk more about what we think we might be seeing, what excites us, what we might feel needs improving, and then after that 5 minutes are up, we invite you as the artist in to inform us of your intentions, and we kind of share the ideas together going forward. And I think that's everything. So So I think Disc Collective, thank you for sending through your work. I can see it on my screen. So I think we'll start with you, if that's all right. And no worries if you can't access your mic, anybody. It's all good. We're quite happy to feedback in the Residency Voice channel. So okay, let me just open a new window. But I will show some works. I mean, for this set of artworks, for these 3 artworks, it's feel free to look at them at your leisure as well within the Residency Voice channel. I'm just going to be putting them on my screen for ease of access. Open link. And finally, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And thank you for sending your works through as well, Danielle, Taimaz, Martha. Really appreciated. And thank you, Helio. I appreciate that. Okay, so Dist Collective's work. Apologies if you want me to call you something else, by the way, please feel free, just going off the handle. But generative project, Dist Collective, starting now. Okay, everyone. So I think this triptych, I'm going to call it a triptych. It might not be a triptych. Is a great place to start for today's session. If anyone has any ideas about what we're looking at, please feel free to comment. If not, I can throw in a few as well. But yeah.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, please.
I think it's between all three of them. Each one kind of emotes a different sort of energy behind it. The second one is a little bit more aggressive, I feel, or not. I don't know, but that's and then the last two have this kind of softer, more gentle vibe to it.
Yeah. The palette certainly suggests that. I think the third one it feels ghostly. You've got like that Mars black put next to this really almost like zinc, I don't know, zinc cyan colors. I'm really interested in. There seems to be like loads of textures going on here. I think of when you mix paint, like the red at first when you see marks in the front. I'm not sure this is a symbolic thing that I'm commenting on right now, but I like the craft. I like how it kind of oozes. And equally, you've got things like maybe not on this one, but down here on the second one. I feel like this piece to complement what you were saying, Zareen, is like almost like a how do I say it?
Like the more or more, it's like more the lines are like more choppy, whereas the other one, the around it just seemed more softer, and then this one it's like more, there's more vigorous. Here it's different in different areas of like it's concentrated more in different areas, the flow of the lines. If that's, I don't know, that's all what I was thinking anyway when I was looking at these.
Yeah, no, great observation. Thank you. I mean, Andre and Taimaz have got similar observations too. A lot of movement, directional between different textures, transitions. Taimaz says they get the feeling of rain and water, like that kind of texture. I agree. I think what I was trying to get at was here. It feels like that. Like, I know this is from what is described as a generative project, but it does feel like it's organic rippling water, and that makes me think this kind of entity feels kind of ominous, like it's submerging from the water. And I really like these kind of this really luscious. It feels like oil paint actually, with how dense it is, and how much is laid on here, as opposed to this kind of like light stippled paint over here, if that's what it is. But yeah, says the first word that popped into his mind was panspermia. I don't know if I've mispronounced that right or not. It gives him the impression of living being descending from the sky, and he's excited about it. Thank you.
I think the disc doing an experiment with some training in coding here. That this reminds me of Perlin noise functions, and this is an experiment with the use of those algorithms to try and reproduce marbling effects, painting effects, and this is the outcome of that experiment. Learning probably a new algorithmic trick. That's what it's calling to mind to me, is that you've got an experiment going on with this particular kind of generative algorithm that's a commonplace kind of algorithm among generative art, and he's trying to make these flourishes, or they're trying to make this flourish resemble marbling effects of like paint and different resins mixed with water. I like the palettes that are more reminiscent of that coloring effect, rather than the ones that are muted. The blue one is my favorite because it seems to call to mind those painterly effects the best, rather than those stormier ones that don't seem to be alluding to the painterly effects. They seem muddier to me than painterly.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting between muddy and this style. That's interesting to learn about that generative effect to emulate marble. Yeah, really interesting. Thank you, Christian.
I want to hop here because
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Harry.
Oh no, sorry. After you, Connie. It's all good.
No, thanks. I really, really love Disc Collective's work. Specifically to me in that, like, what you guys are able to achieve is that your compositions and your textures really suggest an unusual and relationship with time and space. It really creates this choral experience. In that, it kind of when I'm looking at these pieces, there's not a very specific sense of orientation and direction, and I mean that in a good way, because I think what you're doing is playing with visual physics, really, and how, like, for me, I'm feeling very different physical forces and movement at play. And what you're able to kind of generate just completely distorts my sense of light and gravity and how these forces affect an organic body. And I think organic's really the word that I want to harp on, because for these generative pieces, they feel so incredibly, malleable and, organic and lifelike.
Yeah, thank you, Connie. Yeah, now that you mention it, visually it does feel like it's in a vacuum, like it's stuck, which is fascinating. And
it's like this rip. It's a rip, or it's the reverse rip of, like, the space-time fabric.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, does anyone have any observations? I know Una has asked a question, but I'm gonna maybe, I don't know. Does anyone have any last observations? Because I might introduce Disc Collective to provide some answers. If not, okay, right. So, Disc Collective, would you mind telling us in the voice channel about what we're looking at here? Thank you. Okay, so the algorithm is still in an early phase. It's a continuation of our latest collection, Spatial Curvatures. Spatial Curvatures was about stillness within the space-time continuum. Connie, you got it. But in this project, I wanted to explore more movement and light. I called it entities for now, so I want to have this feeling of something moving, going or coming, something like this. The textures are a mix of noise functions and sign distance functions. Thank you. So I think we were pretty on the ball with Disc Collective's intentions, which is a great thing, because it means that your work is shining through. It's coming through to the audience, and and it's called Entities for now. That's interesting. So yeah, maybe. Actually, I think that answered Una's question. Yeah, okay. In that case, I think I'm just going to ask if anyone has any last questions for Disc Collective before we move on. This has been a great start, by the way. Thank you, everyone. Really lovely. Okay, so I think that's Disc completed. So I'm going to move on now to, let's see. I've got so many windows up on my desktop. I think we might go with Helio next, because he kindly sent through his work. So Helio, would you mind maybe if I just copy the link? So this is a collection. I'm just wondering if I should show one Helio or maybe let everybody. I don't want to give it away the intentions just yet. Maybe we'll just look at one for now. We'll look at one. Okay. Okay, awesome. Maybe I can entrust a bit of faith into you guys, and I'm just going to paste the link here, if that's all right with Helio, so you can check out the other works. I don't want to steal this from you. Okay, so 5 minutes. Helio's series. It's called Alternative Landscape, starting now. Okay, so thanks, Martha and Andre, for your observations. I think we'll start there. Martha, I don't know if you'd prefer me to read it or for you to say it. It's up to you.
You know, I realize I'm feeling so quiet today, but then I realized there's a chat. I had an accident a couple of days ago, and I'm feeling really quiet. So, but who knows? You woke me up. But yeah, I've made the comments in there. Yeah.
Sure. So let's have a look. Martha mentioned that landscape comes to mind within the knowledge of the title. Pixelating, constellation, dissolving, repeating. Beautiful work. And she loves the reds. Andre says they know that Helia has a musical background, perhaps biased analysis, but you can hear it with your eyes. Yes, you can. So great first observations.
I want to add though about the reds though. The reds are like dancing. They're floating. They're floating within this field, and they, to me, are dancing. Maybe it ties to that musical idea as well.
Now that you mention it, I think of a really abstract clef, and these could be semi-briefs on it, just dancing. Yeah, very interesting. I was just looking at it from like a material point as well. I was thinking at it as like I think of these tiles as like flat brush marks, and I think of this as like almost like a pavement, or like I don't know. Do you know when a dried acrylic paint gets like really? I don't know if you've seen it on like a studio floor, but like it gets really like into particles, and it just becomes quite beautiful, even though it's like an artwork of itself. I think of that. Anyway, Lucian says they love Helio's landscapes. He creates places that always make you feel so calm. Like the colours also remind me of some Paul Klee paintings. Yes, great observation. They do feel very Paul Klee, which is great. You know, I've only got 2 artworks loaded. But
could I add one more comment to that one that we were looking at? Actually, would you put it back up? It's also like the sky and the groundscape are merging. Like there's a translucency there of how the sky is pixelating down into more like the ground, and then the ground is behind it and has a different kind of texture. But yeah, there's like a soft, there's no edges. There's no edges to his work, and but there is a beautiful overlap that creates 3 zones. The zone of like at the very top, kind of like kind of distributed a little bit like a Rothko piece, where there's 3 zones of color, and in the middle there's the more pixelated part at the overlap. That's another thing I'm observing that's really beautiful and of this piece.
Hi, it's Danielle. I'd love to chime in real quick. First of all, I love Helio's work. I collect it. I'm obsessed. Something that
I collected 2. I bought from the stores.
I thought you were being quiet.
So these pieces, actually, it's funny looking at them. They kind of remind me in a strange way of Christian's mixed up puzzles that he showed last time, in the sense that like these sort of look like it could be a puzzle of a sort of impressionist landscape, and then all those sort of like pixely parts are sort of like pieces that have been switched out, that don't really belong or that come from a different picture. So I kind of made that connection. Obviously this is like a very different thing, but it reminded me in that sense, and it kind of confusing the viewer, and like you're trying to find the picture or pictures inside of it. And I just I love that mystery in both of those projects.
Yeah, that is an excellent observation, Danielle.
I was going to echo that comment. I would have said that I think that there's an attempt here to sort the pixels in an otherwise smashed up or fragmented photograph, an actual object that has been called by the software, and then has this fixed set of procedures done on it to rearrange the component pieces and eventually sort their pixels into this new arrangement. And what I think is amazing about the procedure is that it ends up producing very reliable outputs that all look equally amazing. I don't think there's a disappointing one among them.
Right, thank you. It's good to know about those algorithms producing these outputs. They are, now that you mention it, Christian, yeah, you're totally right. Like, they are very consistent and very enjoyable. Yeah, so Martha's just said in that process they dissolve into each other, and it's so tactile in its texture, which is just really earthy. So I think just for good timekeeping, and also just maybe we've seen a lot into this work. I was wondering if we could hear from Helio themselves. Awesome. No problem, Helio. Yeah, just thank you for coming again today, everyone. I really enjoy these sessions. They help break up my week, and yeah, great. So yeah, Helio says the original AI landscapes, hundreds, are generated in deforum stable diffusion, and the computer vision algorithm is developed in Python with the OpenCV and NumPy libraries. Hundreds of them are generated, and there is a human creation process. The final images are generated by computer vision algorithms through the iterations of pixel arrays from landscapes created with AI. In each iteration, the algorithm detected generates and mixes layers of pixel arrays by color and position. Each pixel retains its position from the original image. Okay, so this is fascinating. I feel like an old man when it comes to AI and its possibilities, and it's interesting to learn about these these processes like deforum stable diffusion, and this is a world that I don't know. This is great to learn about. Oh. So in that case, yeah, it's great to know that there's the computer vision algorithm is developed in Python. Right, so yeah, it seems to be quite a thorough process to make these then, with pixel arrays from landscapes. I just think we have seen this work at face value. Oh, sorry, Dist, go on. Oh, are you there? Okay. So I guess it's been enjoyable to see this, Helio. I'm excited for your work. It just looks very, very beautiful, and great that it has been compared with Christian's work too, for some critical thinking. And yeah,
way better than mine though. Much better. It's absolutely amazing.
No, come on, different.
I have to say though, it's really, really excellent. I think Helio's got is going to have a great career just doing this. This will be an entire career's worth of effort.
Well, there are hundreds of them, so okay. So thank you, Helio. It's been great to see your work. I think we should move on to our next artist. If anyone has any questions, say so now. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Who did we get next? ABCD. Are we okay to go with you and your work next? Super. Okay. Let me just get it up. Okay, so let's see, 5 minutes, Miss Cupid, starting now. Okay, so do we have any initial thoughts for ABCD? If not, I will also happily chip in. I think the first feeling I got when I looked at this work, it felt like a mecha manga or something that I'd read when I was a teenager. I think it's just like it feels like a robot that I'm looking at. I'm intrigued by the subject, and I think the whole composition looks a bit like a comic strip, but it feels very dynamic. The subject looks very dynamic with a triangular composition as well. One thing I found that was really enjoyable was zooming in and seeing all of these lines and these shapes and patterns. And I think of almost like OG crypto art. I think of works by Osinachi and that kind of African pattern style, which it feels like it's combined with like that mecha. Is it called Gundam? I can't remember, but like it feels hyper. I get that kind of feeling. Andre and Helio have feedback too. Andre says they see a body presented as a map with a lot of information that you can travel, and it adds a time layer. Yeah, that does make sense. You can, because there is so much detail right down from the boots up to, well, it's just like leading lines really, right up to the front of the subject's head, which arguably has the most detail on it. And Helio says this is a machine Cupid and a dystopian Cupido. Many details and symbols throughout the image. Yes, it is a one to think about. So Martha thinks that it's a puzzle. Color patches, detail shapes coming together to make the body. Interesting. So yeah, our impression is this feels like a map. The subject is more of a map, a puzzle, something to be figured out. But yeah, maybe some measurement of time as well. I love this very subtle gradient in the back as well. It adds a lot. It's enjoyable. But yeah, Timaz says a lot of interesting details with so much to explore. Which there's a lot to see in here. I love this. I'm wondering why the gun. Part of me thinks, I go back to the subjects. I'm like, why is the subject stood like that in that pose? Why is the subject holding a gun? It's shooting bullets of love, it seems. And not Cupid, actually. Sorry, you're totally right. Helio, yeah. Machine Cupid. Yeah, feeling that. But yeah, does anyone have some thoughts they'd like to say?
I have one thing I'll chime in, just sort of coming off of what you're saying about the gun. I love the tension between the sort of like sort of tough masculine elements, like the stance and like that boot with the buckle, and the machine gun with the very sort of like cutesy hearts and like the very bright poppy colors. I feel like it's saying something about like masculinity and femininity and violence and love. And yeah, I just find it all very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm ABCD. I'm not going to look at your answer yet, just for my own benefit before we can scrape through. Sorry, someone. Yeah. Sorry, Connie. After you.
No, not at all. I've just been kind of listening. I love all the commentary. Totally jives with me. I love the techno-futurism that is inherent to the work. And like, I love that it's rooted in very specific cultural influences. But I think what really speaks to me is that there's this it's what you were saying, Harry, about the stance. I think there's a sense of the force perspective that really pushes energy and force toward the viewer. But where I'm specifically seeing that is, the power in the hair, the tendrils of the hair, the power in the emissions coming out of the weapon, and then the bottom of the shoe. So I feel like there's kind of speaking to the tension that Danielle brought up, is that there's this feel of look at me, but don't underestimate me. And so I feel like this Cupid is angelic, but would just as easily like stomp on me.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's a.
Can I
Oh,
join
sorry,
in
go
on
on.
this?
Sorry.
It's Boria here. Just wanted to join in on this. Wanted to mention something. I feel like there is this extremely awesome mixture of love and power that's just going over what Danielle just said. But there's this feeling like there is a lot of power, but then there's also softness and love. So I really love how this piece sort of embodies the two extremes that we often try to state that it's not possible to have both of them. You cannot be loving and powerful in the same time. But I see this as a visual representation of how when you're loving you have power.
Oh, I want to add too, the camouflage, the thing that we were referring to earlier as puzzle-like, and the colors and the way those pieces fit together is almost like it's a hunter that is camouflage, but it's camouflage in a kind of rainbow. In this kind of rainbow attire. But yeah, bringing up the camouflage as well, because it also has a mask as well for in the face.
I think we've had a revelation between us just now. Thank you, Connie Boyer. And who was speaking just now? Martha. Thank you.
I'd also like to point to the fact too that there's a mysticism to the artwork. Its dimensions suggest a playing card, something akin to a tarot card, perhaps, like a major arcana, and that it's an updating, perhaps, of that kind of mystical tarot tradition.
Interesting. Yeah. No, you're right with the frame and everything. I could totally see that, Christian. One thing I'd like to add to this before, I have a look at ABCD's lovely comments. I see fingernails here, nice glossy ones, and I think of with the Edicurial collection that we manage, Osinachi's work again, like with the heels. I can't. This work was to do with the idea that in sports, men, like guys who play the sports, are trained to be men, whatever that means. But I'm just wondering if those kind of, I don't know, those notions are fused into this very strong-looking figure. If there's a kind of relation between this and this, or if there's an influence at all. Okay. So I think, so ABCD. Could you tell us all about it? It's been fun looking at this one. Really fun. Actually, I'll just have a look. The first comment of ABCDs. I chose a gun to sort of symbolize how heavy the emotion of love can hit you. It sometimes feels like a bullet. Yeah, that is very symbolic, very figurative. Thank you. I should say literal, very literal. Okay. So ABCD, were we? Sorry. Were we kind of on point with our observations, or does this mean something different entirely? Oh yeah, I should point out the work is called Miss Cupid as well. That is, again, I forget the name of the work. That is very helpful for observations. I think we were close. think, okay, awesome. Thank you, ABCD. I think the observations were telling the story from different perspectives, which interestingly were very close to the subject of the piece. Okay, that's a great sign. That's a great sign. Yeah, just like with this collective's work, it's great that we're getting that impression at face value. That's really good. The merge between masculine and feminine was accurate because I do like to create a yin-yang balance in my work in terms of identity. Okay. Yeah, it does definitely convey that. Yeah. Sometimes subconsciously and consciously, so that's an amazing observation. Okay. Well, it looks epic. It has feminine and male and masculine. I don't know, identifies, I suppose. And this work is, I suppose, our observations were pretty close, so that's a great thing. HCD, thank you for letting us see your work. It's great to see new work in our critiques. And if anyone has any last questions, say them now. Otherwise, I think we should move on to our next artist. Of which should go next? Let's see. Is everyone all right to go on with Danielle's work next? Seeing as, there's a big drop coming, if I'm not mistaken, Danielle. Okay, I'm going to just get this open. All right. So Danielle's The Muses. The Muses, not the Muses. 5 minutes starting now. Okay, so does anyone have any first impressions for Danielle's piece at the Muses? As always, I have a handful. Helio says, I really love Danielle's work. The mixture of styles create a completely new one, and the expressions of the face and the body invite the viewer to have a dialogue or feel confronted. Yes, so to agree with Helio, this work invites us to have a dialogue, like with the previous work, with the two women that we thought perhaps could be a bit creepy, a bit ominous, in that Polaroid picture. This one, this one's intriguing. My impressions were, who is the subject? What is the subject looking at? Why is she in? Where is she, and why is she? What is she wearing? Essentially, I have to say this one feels very nostalgic for me personally. It feels very kind of 60s, I think, in its style. I think I have my parents have a print downstairs of David Hockney's paintings and drawings for Parade, which maybe if I can get it here, David Hockney Parade. It's been there like my entire life, like ever since I was a kid, like a toddler. This print, and I think some of these shapes immediately make me think of that. They feel very kind of, I don't know how I feel about these kind of abstract shapes, and but it reminds me of the style of David Hockney. But that's what I was getting out of this. It feels very traditional, very convincing to say it's generated through prompts, which is incredible. But does anyone have any observations? I know that Martha and Luciana are typing away like mad in the voice channel, but any observations?
I think the power of Danielle's work tends to reside around the eyes. I think here the muse, her body blends into the world around her, but I think her gaze is both piercing and devil-may-care. Honestly, I think if she were to settle her gaze on me, I would be either terrified or just at least very, very intimidated. I think there's this nobility and intrigue about her, like she's a bit above it all or outside of it, like she's really in the world but not of it. And you speak of nostalgia, and like when I saw her face and her posture, I felt like, oh, she kind of reminds me of like a Katharine Hepburn or maybe early Angelica Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, Connie, with the kind of intimidating look, there's no light in these eyes, which maybe works really well with the flat surfaces of everything. In the background and the foreground. I wouldn't want her to look at me either, really. Martha says, so in agreement with us, Connie, that's the eye expression, looking into space. The merging of the background happens with the figure, and puzzle them again, that has come up a lot today. The only skin is the face propped by the hand. It's beautifully composed. The lip color is picking up on the color scheme. Yeah, it is actually. I have the privilege of, because it's my window shared on Discord, I can see it as a thumbnail. And it does feel like a floating head, but not even that. Almost like it's not entirely a head with the lips. That's just seemed to match perfectly with the background. Almost like we're looking through the subject. And Luciana says, love how the woman emerges from the background, looks mean with an evil look, almost like revenge. I see dead eyes. Yes. This is a dead-eyed expression. The hair is interesting too. It's almost turning into the shapes. Yes, so, whenever I look at this, I just think of my undergraduate degree. and the way my friends used to paint, using like flat brushes and round brushes to kind of get this effect. I think the prompts are amazing, really, just to say that you can get these kind of textures, and yeah, just really intriguing. They are shapes, essentially, just abstract shapes, no different than what's in the background. That adds a layer of creepiness, actually. I feel like I'm not actually looking at a real subject. Like I'm almost just looking at abstract shapes entirely. Andre says, Taimaz says, I love the colours and how the dress is merged into the background around her. This work is really beautiful. I concur. Andre says, at first you're drawn to her gaze and attitude, but after a while you realise that the background is absorbing her. Strange sensations begin to appear. Okay.
I want to add too. Can I add now?
Yeah, please.
I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, when I first saw it, I really liked that she was merging into like this abstract painting. But now thinking about it, if you remove the face and the hand, it's you don't have a sense of a body really. It's the body, though it's there and it's implied, it starts to flatten, but also, I mean, it also has depth. That is a different kind of depth. It's an abstract depth. So that part is interesting too. That juxtaposition of the figurative with the abstract.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think, we should probably ask Danielle what we're looking at here, the muses, if you wouldn't mind.
Hi, yeah, guys, thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments. So this is a part of the artist's proofs that were generated in advance of my long-form generative AI project that's coming in less than an hour. So there are 50 of them generated. They're not curated. This is one of my favorites, and that's why I put it up. I too love how she seems to be blending with the background or emerging from the background. I love her intensity. She's definitely intimidating and reminds me sort of like a Katharine Hepburn, or like sort of, one of those sort of tough old broads from the movies in like the 50s, 40s. And it's funny, Luciana, you mentioning Alex Katz, that is not one of the artists in the prompt, but I totally do see that. And what's always funny to me is like with a lot of these outputs, I have all these influences and artists and designers and things in the prompts, and sometimes you can see that, and sometimes you also see other artists that aren't part of it that just kind of emerge. So for this one, I'm looking at the details of what came out of the generative process for this. So this one has Alice Neal, Micheline Thomas, Bertha Morisot, Sonia Delaney, which I think you can kind of see in the colors, and Mark Jacobs. So it's just kind of amazing what the AI does. I mean, there are other things in the prompts, and there are all kinds of different parameters and things I won't get into. But in terms of the artists and creators that were sort of went into the mix on this one, that was who it is. And I do love everything you said. I think those things all are what drew me to this one and made her sort of one of my favorites so far out of the ones that have come out of the mysterious generator.
Thank you, Danielle. This has been really intriguing just to hear that list of artists in the prompt. Christian says, Upper West Side Manhattanite, upper class patron of the arts like Peggy. Yeah, definitely got those vibes. Thank you. I think just from what you just mentioned with our comments, I think you're pretty spot on. And best of luck with your job. Is it of 50 works, Danielle?
It's 500. So they
500. Oh my goodness!
the artist proofs that were transferred to my wallet for me to do what I want with, and then the 500 will be minted starting at 25 TES each, and they'll be each generated at the time of mint, and each have a unique name. So yeah, we'll see. Eek. Thank you for the good luck.
Did you say they're each 125 TES or 25 TES? I think
it was 125.
125 Tez?
Sorry, what?
Your price for each of them, it's 25 Tez or 125?
I think it was 125. But anyway, sorry, I guess we'll find out in less than an hour, I guess. But thank you, Danielle. It's been lovely seeing your work, and yeah, best of luck. You don't need the luck.
They're only 25 Tez.
25 Tez, blimey. Okay. Making a quick mental note.
No, it's crazy. It's going to be a terrible gas war as people try to compete to get one.
You called it.
Be very popular, Danielle.
Okay, so I think moving on. Sorry, just a second. So I think Timaz, have you sent a work through? Oh yes, you have. So sorry. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so metanoia. This looks exciting. Just to paste the work again. Yeah, super. Okay, so I'm going to load one of these works, and let's get straight into it. Feel free to have a look at them at your own leisure as well. I'll just be scrolling through. But yeah, 5 minutes starting now. Okay, so do we have any first impressions for Timaz? This is a beautiful series, I have to say.
I'll jump in. I just love them. I think they're so beautiful. They're, to me, very dreamlike. Something about the shapes and the colors and the sort of like out of focus, blurriness. It seems like little snippets of things you might remember from your dreams. So that's just my initial impression. I really love them.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. I get that impression with this work in particular. It is the low shutter speed. It evokes a sense of nostalgia to me, and like you said, it feels very dreamlike. That you can't quite grasp it. And I also think maybe it's the lighting. I get a sense of like it's these flowers. They appear kind of like ominous. I think the best example of this would be this one. We've combined the idea of like it being a dream. This one doesn't feel very nostalgic though. It feels scary from first glance. They are very beautiful, cosmetic on the surface as well. Almost like abstract paintings. They actually remind me a bit of Giselle Flores' work, which is a great thing. Does anyone else have any observations for Timaz?
I was just in agreement with both of you and feeling like it's a dreamlike state, and kind of the darker images sort of evoke like this like hallucinogenic dreamlike phase, but then like the lighter ones remind me of like childhood when you're like in the field and like you're hit by the sun and you're just looking at plants, and sometimes how that can play with your vision. And yeah, I think it's very beautiful, the emotion that's evoked through these images.
Thank you, Zareen. Yeah, they are emotional. For the ones that you described as like being like almost like a summer's day. We could be seeing those with rose-tinted glasses, pardon the pun. Whereas, yeah, these, I don't know, they are very emotional, I think is where I'm going to draw that there. Yeah, so I think whilst we have 5 minutes left, I'm going to invite Timaz just to explain the intentions behind this series, Metanoia. Which is lovely. By the way, before you do, Timaz, I'm very jealous of Waldo for collecting this piece. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But sorry, Timaz.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much. This body of work is completely different than my previous photography work. That's why it's called Metanoia, because it's completely different in colors and aesthetics as what I did before, and I've kind of I feel like my perspective towards photography changed in the past couple of years since I've been in NFTs. So it made sense to shift my aesthetics, the way I photograph and the way I look at flowers. Flowers are very dominant in my work, also in my previous work. It's very not intentionally, I just get very attracted to photographing flowers and still life images. So this collection was basically to create some sort of experience for the person who collects the pieces. It's like a flower boutique. So each NFT that's collected can be changed to another one by the preference of the collectors. So if somebody collects this piece can be changed into another one if someone wants to create a photo of a tulip with a red background that has like abstract lights of green, so it could change. So each flower gives the concept of a bouquet that you go to the store and then let's say you buy a bouquet, you ask the florist, oh, I want these in my bouquet, or I want the greens and reds and yellows, and then you have your bouquet ready. So a lot of the times collectors have to buy these ready-made NFTs. So what I thought was to create some sort of experience for people to change it to the way they want, but still there's the element of gaming and surprise and a different outcome. But so far, all the collectors that collected from this collection wanted to keep the original piece and did not want to go through the change and create another one. But the main concept for this collection is that, and each title that goes with each bouquet is basically I created this collection in a weird time of my life. Each flower represents the feelings of that period, so maybe that's why you think it's emotional. But yeah, this basically it's like a flower store, and recently I even changed the last 4 pieces that were unsold to new flowers. So I refreshed it. Instead of adding pieces to it, I just changed it. Yeah, so that is the main concept of this collection.
Thank you, Taimaz. That is such a beautiful explanation of this series. I mean, yeah, we are in the flower shop, and I'm not surprised, honestly, that your collectors didn't want to swap them out, because I certainly wouldn't want to. But they are. I think it's good that we observed that it is an emotional series, and it's interesting to hear that you're coming back to taking photos of flowers, and it's just a very enjoyable series. And I think our observations were pretty sound. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. I did kind of want to give it a little bit of generative art feeling, but not too much. I wanted people to still understand these are photos and these are like real flowers. Um, so yeah, thank you all so much. I'm excited I get to share my work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. It does have that feel. So yeah, you've hit the goal. So everyone, I think that is today's session. I think I missed Connie, unfortunately, but I will make sure to put her at the top of next week's list. And sorry, next week. I can't remember when the next session actually is. Boya, my bad. But
let me check that.
Yeah, well, Connie will be. Yes.
Next Wednesday.
Yes, next Wednesday. Okay, super. But yeah, Connie will probably go at the top of next week's session, and it's been lovely sharing this hour and a half with you all. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, and good luck with your upcoming work. For your auction, it's a really exciting time, and I'm really excited for all of you. So, yeah.
Thanks for your friendliness. We appreciate your cordiality. These sessions are always so much fun. And best of luck, Danielle. I think you're going to do great.
Yes. You are going to do great.
Thanks, Harry.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. And see you next time. Okay?
Thanks, Harry. Woo!
Woo!